sometimes we try to give the devil credit for creating. God,
hold on now.
We try,
let that one sink in,
yeah,
big fella.
We try to give the devil credit for creating. God is the creator, right? The devil doesn't create anything. He corrupts things, but he doesn't create.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And so I think you got to give God the high ground on that situation. It's like sex is a good thing meant to be used. There's a way to use it.
Yeah.
But when you just like shooting everywhere, you know what I'm saying? No pun intended. And then talk.
What's going on? Can you see it? Yeah, I think I see it.
Okay, let's go. All right, so man, sorry y'all.
Yeah, we
were talking to ourselves, basically. Having a good old conversation.
Okay, so people, what do you think is the most important thing to young Christians as they make their walk towards marriage?
Man, a lot of people are talking about, man, what's the deal with sex and how we have it.
So we were talking earlier about the purity pledge that, you know, some kids are initiated in during, what is it, Sunday school?
Uh-huh.
I didn't do it, so I don't really understand the process. But from what I hear is just you basically sign your name saying that you won't have sex till marriage, and then that's it. Nobody else really talks about it. And even as a Christian, I still haven't had the opportunity to hear what the intention of sex is, you know, and how to deal with your horniness as you grow.
Man, y'all really try to get to it today.
No, we're gonna turn this up. We're gonna turn it off.
Okay. We're gonna turn it up. All right, then fine. Let's get to it. All right. So to you know, as you were talking about the purity pledge, usually they sign in fact, that's crazy. I think as a youth pastor, I had people sign. Well, yes. Oh, that's another discussion. But anyway, they sign it and then they get a ring. And once you get that ring and you don't take it off until the day that you get married.
Right.
And so, you know, it's like no context, Dr. Umar. We get this stuff, right? And we don't know exactly what we're doing or what we're trying to do. And so how that culture probably is affected is people know the quote unquote right thing to do, but they don't understand the reasons why. And I think it's a great conversation. You got to it. So I think because of that, it breeds what we call like legalism. We're doing the rules for the sake of the rules, but no understanding of what the rules mean and no understanding of what God's intention of those rules are. So, and I think a lot of people, you know, from my research and just figuring out, a lot of people fail at the purity challenge, and then they feel like, man, they're out.
Yeah,
God has cast them out. There's no whatever. And so they don't, there's really, I don't know, man. It feels as if we really haven't dealt with the issue. We've kind of skirted around it by saying, don't do it till you get married.
So I have my theories. Is this a safe space for me to get my theories off? Or?
It's definitely safe for me, brother.
All right. So
I won't tell nobody.
I've always felt that the purity pledge was the reason why God wanted us to wait until marriage was, one, obviously not to defile the bedroom, the sacred bedroom. But I always assumed that it was just because he didn't want to see the single parent households. He didn't want to see the sexually transmitted diseases and all the harm that it can cause, the emotional turmoil that some people go through by having sex and then that person just leaves, you know, because the soul tie thing is real. And I think that.
You think that's real?
I think it's real.
Okay.
I think you definitely tied to everybody that you have sex with.
Okay.
If not spiritually, you at least physically tied to everybody that you've had sex with and who they had sex with. So
true.
There's a tie.
Because if a disease comes up, they trace everything. You got to trace. Right.
What do you do when you want to escape prison? You tie a bunch of ropes together, tie a bunch of blankets together to make a rope.
Yeah.
And they can trace that boy back to where it came from.
Right. True.
What'd you think?
Man, okay. So I think this, first of all, I think because we've ruled this thing to death, we haven't really looked at the original intent to say, first of all, in Genesis 1, when he creates the world, he creates man and woman, he creates, that union. He literally says it's good.
Yeah.
So that, first of all, I think the first thing I never heard was that sex is a good thing.
Right. I haven't either.
And usually what you hear is, sex before marriage is bad, but it's like, okay, that doesn't, you got to start with the fundamental Christian understanding, and even outside of Christianity, that sex is a good thing, declared good, not by us, but declared good by God.
I hate to kind of switch gears back, but when you said that it's good, it made me think about as a child growing up, and I would see my friends' parents, or even sometimes my parents tell me to look away when the sex scene happened when I was a kid. Do you think that is actually necessary?
Well,
since sex is supposed to be good and it's given to us by God, why are we hiding it from each other?
Well, see, and I think here's the thing. I think it's so good. There's a way that you got to use it. Yeah. How do I mean, everybody probably isn't a gun owner. I'm a gun owner. Okay. I own a gun. And I think owning I own.
Ain't no games played.
I'm telling my business on camera, but that's fine. Listen, I own a no. I'm fine. I'm fine. I own a pistol. Yeah. I think owning a pistol is a good thing.
Yeah.
I think there's a use for owning a pistol to defend your household or your castle or your household in case of any, But if you just go out with a pistol and just start shooting in the air or shooting wherever, that's very dangerous and it's a bad thing. And so to me, sometimes we try to give the devil credit for creating. God,
hold on now. Let that one sink in, big fella.
We try to give the devil credit for creating. God is the creator, right? Oh. The devil doesn't create anything. He corrupts things, but he doesn't create.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And so I think you got to give God the high ground on that situation. It's like sex is a good thing, meant to be used. There's a way to use it.
Yeah.
But when you just like shooting everywhere, you know what I'm saying? No pun intended. When you shooting everywhere, you're gonna cause situations.
That's crazy. That's good.
Cause issues. Okay.
Oh man, that's good. So like, I wasn't expecting you to get you every week. You seem to shock me. I own Machete, by the way. If y'all ever wanted to get the tripping on me, I got the machete in the trunk. Then who wants to see a man come outside with a machete? No, over everybody's head. Don't worry.
No. I'm with y'all. Actually, I'm telling more. Okay. I represented somebody who came outside with a machete, and they said, they were trying to say it wasn't self-defense, but we were able to prove it's self-defense. But that's another example of God gives us good things. And back to the conversation, God gives us really good things. They just, in order to do the most good and the best good, there's a way we use them.
So what should Christians do with purity and their curiosity around sex? If nobody really wants to talk about it in the church, where do they go?
Man, I think we ought to start opening up our Bible and start asking a question. Why did God create sex? What is it for? And how do we use it for the best use of the kingdom and for the flourishing and the glory of God? Because there's a whole book, Song of Solomon.
Yeah.
If you've ever read that, in fact, the ancient cats would wait to a certain age that they would allow their people to read it. But listen, it's in our Bible. It's word. It's good. And there's some things about sex in there that help us to see, oh, wait, there's something redeeming. So if we say sex is for the glory of God, right? And, if we see the union between man and woman as a union, that he uses sex as a spiritual glue to make them one, because that's what he talks about in Genesis 2:24. He'll say, a man shall leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife. And that, talking sexually, they're leaving these families that come together, right? And if it's the spiritual glue that keeps them together, and if it's a way for them to glorify God, one of the other things that it'll do is to help them to see God, their relationship between the groom and the bride more clearly. If Jesus is the groom and we are the bride, and then it means that every time we engage in covenant sexual activity, we're worshiping God. We're helping each other to see the closeness and the oneness that we can have with God. I used to say this all the time, your sexuality is closely tied to your spirituality. You know, when the way it was supposed to be used was intended for us to, you know, to feel and to sense that we're close with God. Jesus isn't the groom sitting over the distant lover over there overseas somewhere. He's one with us, close to us, as intimate as close. And so every time we have that intimate, close sexual thing, we're reminded of the fact that our lover is close with us and he'll never leave us nor forsake us. See, I think all other forms of sex, they tell a different story to our brain and our mind.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I was actually going to say, I was going to mention, so in all actuality, when we have sex outside of marriage, we're making sex about us and not about God, in which it was intended.
That, and I think also you're telling a story that, because if it's reflecting God in His Jesus in the church, groom and bride coming together, then it's, you know, you're saying, well, Jesus is only committed to the church insofar as the bride is giving him what he needs. Or the bride is only committed to Jesus insofar as Jesus is giving the bride what she needs. Or there is no commitment between Jesus and the church, and Jesus is hanging out for a second and he's going back to go hang out with the rest of the Trinity, and maybe he'll be back, maybe he'll not. Or Jesus was only hanging out for one night and then he had to bounce. Anyway, there's a lot. You see what I'm saying? No, but I'm saying these are the truths that we telling. I mean, you know, I know
it's crazy. I think that's a Band-Aid that needs to be ripped off. I think we get so afraid of the sin that we don't actually understand why we sin it.
Yeah.
And I think if we rip that Band-Aid off, it's a lot easier to have the conversation.
Yeah. And so I think when we talk about it as sin, we're not deep enough with it. It's like, oh, you didn't do it, don't do it. Like that's not edifying to anybody.
Right.
And I don't think God's like, yo, this is a good thing. Why are you guys taking this and making a bad thing? It's a good thing. I'm not bad, you know. Yeah. And usually, what we're saying when we don't glorify it, when we don't glorify it in the right fashion, is God ain't good. God is good. You know, if God gives us a child and we say, man, I don't know this child, I don't want this child, what are we saying? We're saying God is bad. Consequently, if God gives us this thing called sex and we don't acknowledge the goodness of it, what we're saying is he's bad. When in all reality, he's using this particular moment to help both parties to see that God is good, that Jesus is your forever lover, and he desires more than a distant relationship. He wants to be closer to you than a brother. But anyway, man, I'm ranting. Well, go ahead. Question.
It just kind of feels like we've made it so bad that we made it taboo to talk about, but in making it taboo, because I feel like human nature is always wanting something that you can't necessarily have.
True.
And we've made it feel so bad, especially with the cover your kids' eyes when sex is about to happen. I understand you want to keep your kids as pure as possible, but even just those little nomenclatures, just doing that kind of thing makes it.
Well, I think you've got to not only just cover their eyes. Well, first of all, I mean, if I'm showing it and I got to cover my kids' eyes, I think there's some other, but let's just, for example, I couldn't catch it. You also got to educate.
Yeah.
You got to say, hey, the reason why I'm not letting you see this is not because it's a bad thing. It's because it's a really good thing. I want you to have the experience that either I had or didn't have, that when you get this opportunity to enjoy this thing like a fine wine, that you grow closer to your creator rather than away from him. You know, we got to explain the thing and not just like, you know, it's just like with a gun. I'm like, look, you can't shoot. I can't just put the gun in your hand right now. When you grow up and you responsible enough, you realize you need to defend your house and your castle and your people, then yeah, now you can use it. It's just an education and a training. And we just, I think because a lot of us walk around with shame.
Yeah.
I know I have,
Yeah.
Shame about the things we've done in the past, shame about the things that haven't gone right. And because of that, we've allowed shame to control our theology rather than Jesus Christ.
So I know we probably spend a lot of time. What can we tell the mature Christian in their, I don't know, mid-20s, early 30s that's ready
Don't
to
drink water on camera. Go ahead, I'm listening.
What do we tell the mature Christian that's in their mid-20s, early 30s that's ready to get married? How should they view sex, especially if they haven't had sex already?
I think they should view it as something good. I think they should view it as something to look forward to. I think that they should. There's something I don't know if we got time. How much time we got?
What?
Okay. So, there's this thing where we like, and I've always kind of like struggled with it. I'm like, there's this thing where we say, I want to get all my ducks in a row before I get married. I want to make sure I go to school. Oh, go ahead.
I was a perpetrator of that.
Okay. I want to make sure I get all this stuff together. And it's like, okay, well, I think there's a part of you that kind of senses when it might be time to do what you need to do. I don't think God, okay, let me say it this way. I don't think God designed us with the desires that we have, if you have those desires, because everyone doesn't have those desires. And everyone doesn't have, we'll get into all this, later. But I'm saying, but if you have a desire for that, I think there's an innate sense of, okay, well, let me do what I need to do quickly in order to move forward to the next level so that I can partake of that versus waiting, it's almost like, what are we waiting on? And then we say, well, we'll say things like, well, I'm not able to do what I want to do. And it's like, well, you technically can. You can go to the courthouse tomorrow and do what you need to do. But we have these prevailing notions of what it means to be married and to be stable. And we got to have the white picket fence and this, that, and the third. But then it's like, when you think about it, it's like, okay, now this is where I really feel like we really got to challenge the idolatry, right?
Get it.
Right? Because you're challenging it because you're saying, okay, is my white picket fence and house more important and more valuable than me being able to honor God with my body? And let me put it another way. Is it worth depriving myself of the joy that I can have today?
Ooh, that's good.
Right? I can have it today in order to have the white picket fence and this, that, and the third.
What are we doing all this for? What are we doing all this for?
I had to think about this. This is something I thought about. I was like, did I grow up with the right sense of what's important and what's not important? And I don't feel like I did. It took me a long time to unlearn and relearn in light of the gospel message what life could be and what life, with fits and starts. I'm growing like everybody else.
What you said, the white picket fence, I guess, I don't know what to call it, the white picket fence thing. We kind of defy logic with it because we're saying we need to have our ducks in a row now when it would be a lot easier to have your ducks in a row with a partner.
Mm-hmm. This is true.
It's a whole lot easier to get your ducks in a row, get the white picket fence. You get it in half the time because it's two people working.
It's true.
Why are we doing this to ourselves?
Well, because I think we've taken in, these are clothes that generations before gave us, and we put them on and they don't fit.
Man, I need to live tweet when we talk. I need to hit some of these quotables. That's crazy.
And so then we don't actually think about it in light of, one, just doesn't make sense, just period. It don't make and then two, biblically, can I?
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, no. I thought
you were about to get off.
No, I'm good. I'm trying to stay off my soapbox and stay within time.
Okay, so now I'm going to retract a little bit. Thinking about the white picket fence, usually the man has something, I guess the family is given a dowry. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
Giving a dowry to the suitor, what is he supposed to be bringing to the table in the olden days?
Well, it depends on where. Let's say in African culture, or in some African cultures, the family of the suitor brought a dowry.
The family of the suitor.
The husband brings a dowry.
Okay.
To the wife, to the wife's house.
Okay.
Right. And now I think they just do tokens like beer and wine because that's all people want. Want anyway. Want to celebrate, want to hang out. But I think those were established cultures or whatnot. But man, we live in the 21st century. If you got a job and you can contribute to a household and you desire to
have a household,
yeah, you should think about it.
So it's not as hard as we're making it seem.
I feel like we making arithmetic calculus.
Because I definitely was one of those that subscribed to the notion that I need to have a house and I need to have X amount saved up before I even thought about getting married. But I'm really just at the end of the day thinking about myself and not the glory of God. And I feel like if I had been in that frame of mind, just thinking about what can I do to continue God's journey, war, revolution, whatever God wants me to do, I would get exactly where I need to go anyway.
Yeah.
It could all be so simple.
It'd be all so simple, babe. Y'all got any questions? Y'all got anything y'all want to throw out?
We touch everything?
Y'all don't nothing? Where we at with time? We're at 20, we're at 30 yet?
It's on the screen down there. On that top left screen should say something. I think it's top left. We got through all that in only 25 minutes?
Yeah,
That's so crazy.
We got 5 minutes. Let's go. Well, Ray, hearing this, how do you receive it?
That everything that I thought was wrong, right? I put a negative, even though I know sex is good, I still put a negative connotation on it. Like I still feel like it should be something that's behind closed doors and not really talked about outside, like in a serious way. In a playing, joking way, yeah. But seeing it from, glorifying God in the right way, I need to go and ponder. I need to think about that a little bit more as a single person. That's crazy. My brain is blowing up. You can you pop it on and off and it'll work again. I don't know. I don't really know how to answer that.
I think it's a good question. I think you have answered. I think we do need to sit with the weight of the fact that sex is a good thing and that it is there to glorify God. I do think that is a thing that when you think about it, man, you're like, okay, so if this is a good thing, what decision choices have I made that have made this a non-glorifying God thing? Mm-hmm. What are the things that I personally, as a person, need to reconsider, change up, so that I can really like get in the game and get involved. For some people it might be, I'm in a situation that feels like it's going nowhere. I need to, figure out how I can be in a situation that's going somewhere. For some people it's like, okay, well, maybe I have past trauma in my past that has made me view this thing as a shameful thing. Maybe I've gone through some situations, some negative situations sexually that I need to really like deal with and answer and try to ponder through and get the help that I need to get through so that I can then be fully functional and be able to enjoy the thing that God has created. So, I don't know, that's some stuff. What else? Y'all got anything else? Words of encouragement, man. Here's one thing that I think helped me was, I think the prime of your life, your teens, your 20s, early 30s, you know, like I think a lot of time we waste the prime of our life waiting for like life doesn't begin until we have the engagement, the wedding, the marriage versus like
You're going to get some comments.
but it's like you're wasting the prime of your life. Like you should be out here enjoying it. Like you don't get this time again. You're not going to be as fit, as strong, as mentally sharp. You might be smarter as you get older, but the energy that you have, businesses that could be started, man, things that God has wired you to do, it's the time to do it. And so I think for so many of us, we're waiting for that. Like life doesn't start until, you know, and then what if that doesn't happen? And then you've wasted a lot of time. So that's one, I'll be like, yo, God has purpose, you know, because when you're married, you can't do all the things you're doing now. So God has purpose for us now. Mm-hmm. And then I think also too, I think community, get with other folk who are on the same journey you're on, being able to have those authentic conversations with them, not allowing that stuff to be taboo so that you guys can figure out, man, what's the role we taking? You know, like this conversation was cool because probably for the first time in a while, at least for me and maybe for you, we've never had we've had a lot of conversations. We've never had this conversation. And I think it's helpful when we do that.
Yeah, I think as we start to strip back the layers, we can see sex for what it really is. We can see Christianity for what it really is. The next question I had, I feel like we could talk about maybe next week is, I think the impatience of actually finding a person for a Christian is tough because it's like you meet so many people. How do you know which one you're supposed to wait for? Ooh. Can we get into that next week? 'Cause I think that's really where a lot of the anxiety comes from, is because we're waiting for marriage, but we don't know who we're going to marry. Uh-huh. And because of not knowing that, it brings anxiety about, man, am I waiting for, is this really why I should be waiting?
Is this the one, or can I make her the one? All right, we'll do that next week. We'll do that next week because this is like another 30-minute conversation. Well, y'all, thank you guys for being with us. Put your questions and your comments, and thank you for. Yo, the producer back here is doing work. Yeah, thank you, because I don't be looking at no camera. Thank you for joining us, y'all. Listen, if you've got questions or comments, or you want to enter the conversation, put them in the chat, or you can send them to me at pt@resurrectionhouston.org. We love to talk to you.